Well, for more on the future of streaming services, Roger Entner joins me live from Boston. He's the founder and lead analyst of Recon Analytics. Welcome, Roger.
Thanks for having me, Rachelle.
So as we saw, there are upbeat numbers, but also weak guidance for the months ahead. What's your overall view of Netflix's first quarter performance?
I thought Netflix performed extremely well. And I think what we're seeing here is Netflix turning from a American phenomenon to a truly global phenomenon where it is now growing much faster internationally than here in the US, where slowly but surely it's reaching saturation.
Now, something that might pinch, we saw that Netflix is raising prices in the US, Brazil, Mexico, as well as parts of Europe. Is that an opportunity, you think, for some of these cheaper streaming competitors to swoop in with better offers, or is Netflix just too far ahead in terms of its head start?
Netflix is very far ahead, and we're talking about a relatively modest increase on a pretty low price. You can have Netflix, between $11 and $16, which is well within the reach of its customer base.
Now, it certainly does depend where you are in the world. We saw that Netflix is struggling to get a price tier just right in India, a country of 460 million internet users, and then you have Amazon and Disney-owned Hotstar, which are cheaper there. How key do you think the Indian market is for Netflix's overseas ambitions?
The Indian market is a huge market for any company. I think we have to look at the Indian market in a more differentiated way. There are more affluent people in India than there are in the United States. So if you focus on the 400 million richest Indians, you have a huge market that is larger actually than the United States. On average, yes, there are a lot of Indians are a lot poorer than Americans, but I think it depends on what segment you're focusing on.
Now, in terms of rivals, we've seen that Disney and Apple have revealed their plans for streaming services. What are they offering, and how will it differ from Netflix?
Well, the difference, when we look at Apple, Apple's motivation here is not to get into, really to beat Netflix or to beat Disney, but it is to tie customers to the Apple device universe and get people to buy more iPhones, more tablets, more Mac computers. Disney is simply trying to be the master of its own destiny here. It is pulling its content from Netflix and is starting with a really fighting price of $6.99. That is making life actually much more difficult for its competitors like AT&T's Warner Media, because they want to put something together that is more comprehensive, bigger than Netflix, than HBO, and HBO is already priced at $15. So this makes life much more difficult for all the other competitors rather than for Netflix.
So then what should some of these streaming services be doing then to convince customers to stay with them, even if they do decide to subscribe to some of these other offerings as well?
Well, the secret here is really to offer something new to their customers every single day, every single week. I think we're seeing the end of appointment television here in the final season of Game of Thrones, and Netflix has significantly altered the game by putting out hundreds of shows and movies every year, where every day you come to Netflix, you have something new to watch. It might be not something for you, whereas HBO, for example, as a prime rival, you have something new a couple of days a week, and that is a significant departure. So in a way, HBO is almost condemned to become more like a Netflix.
And now it's interesting because we're going to end up having so many different fractured streaming services. Do you think for consumers it's going to end up being too much of a headache or an expense to subscribe to all these different systems? And could it perhaps send people back to traditional cable companies?
I think there will be for quite some time space for traditional cable companies where you have already a curated set of different content and somebody aggregates it for you. But I think we're seeing in the especially younger age segments, we're going to see a lot of cherry picking of for X months I'm taking Netflix, for here I'm also taking Showtime, I'm taking HBO for a couple of months, when the shows are there. The only way you can avoid that is a constant barrage of new content that keeps your customers watching.
Certainly a competitive space indeed. Thank you so much. Roger Entner there, founder and lead analyst of Recon Analytics.